Is anybody else tired of this stupid pandemic already? I'm going crazy. Look, I'm doing this YouTube show. I would have never have done this before the pandemic, but now you're forcing me to. You're forcing me to, Corona!
Why?
But in all seriousness, guys, what the heck? It's been like day 500, and all I have to play is Final Fantasy VII. Oh wait, no, that's the best part about it. The worst part about it is that I have to be here when I hear some potentially pretty sad news. Corona could be affecting some of the video game production lines, specifically Sony PlayStations. I don't know if that's true or not. I could just be making stuff up. How would you even know? I'm not even a trusted source. But here, let's talk about Sony and stay tuned, and I'll show you what I mean. And you can decide for yourself, because this is America, and you can believe whatever you want to believe, and no one can say anything different, and no one can come and arrest you and take away your video games, because you can take our lives, but you cannot take our gaming! You guys aren't supposed to see that. All right, here we are from IGN, the most trusted source in all of video game dumb. Yeah. PlayStation 5 stock to be limited in first year, says report. What report is that? Well, let's find out. Oh, they took it from Bloomberg. Okay, so Sony's PlayStation 5 production output will reportedly be quote-unquote limited in the first year of its launch, as Sony expects a higher price to affect demand of its new console. A Bloomberg report cites people familiar with the matter, claiming that Sony is set to produce fewer PS5 units in the console's first year than it did for the PS4's launch in 2013. According to Bloomberg sources, Sony will make 5 to 6 million units of the PlayStation 5 in the fiscal year ending of March 2021. For some perspective on that figure, the PS4 sold over 7 million units in around 5 months. Okay, let's take a quick stop there. So I don't know about you guys, but I am 37 years old, and that means I've basically been alive for all of the PlayStation cycles, from 1 to 4, now waiting on 5. Now, I can remember when PlayStation, was it 2 or 3? See, I'm talking like I'm an expert. I don't know what I'm talking about. But I'm pretty sure it was PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 3 that had massive shortages. In fact, they only shipped about 500,000 units, I believe, during holiday season. Because I just remember when the times where people were basically standing around like electronic boutiques waiting to be handed their PlayStation for them. And I remember them like canceling pre-orders and not having enough supply. Word of the wise, pre-orders are not always a guarantee.
No matter what they say.
So anyway, I find this curious that production values could be in limited supply. If they sold 7 million in 5 months last time, I don't think 5 to 6 million sounds that bad, but they're certainly treating it like it's a big deal. So why could that be? Let's go back to the article and take some more look. The reasoning for that apparently comes down more to the effect of a higher price tag. The report notes that Sony anticipates the console's price tag to come in at around $499 to $549, a figure the company thinks could put off some potential buyers in a launch year, meaning it will scale down production. So I don't feel like $500 or even $550 is going to break the bank for most people. It's interesting and curious that Sony is keeping that in mind. What I hope they don't do is I hope they don't try and predict this thing to where it's like, well, we're going to scale back production on the assumption that people won't pay that much for a console. Because I think that the PlayStation 4 is going strong enough now to where even if there's just a fraction of the existing user base, like myself, that are ready for a new console, if we buy one, I'm thinking that's going to be at least 3 to 5 million purchase there up front. I don't think they're going to run into the same sort of trouble that Xbox One had, because even though the Xbox One was initially more expensive when it launched, people were more concerned about things like sharing games and being able to rent games and how that whole DRM situation worked out. If you want to find out more about that, just Google search Xbox sharing games 2014. There's a whole lot of information on that. So I think Sony is still sitting pretty, but I'm glad to hear that they're conscious of this because they don't want a repeat of the PlayStation 3, which launched a year later and about 50% more expensive than the Xbox 360, which ended up torching it in the first few years. What if Xbox Series X comes out at $450? Would that be enough to sway you from going to PlayStation to Sony? I'm curious. Here's the other part I'm interested in. The COVID-19 outbreak is apparently only a factor on those components rather than the production of the completed PlayStation 5 itself, according to Bloomberg sources who requested not to be identified. The pandemic has affected Sony's promotional plans for this new device, but its production capacity for the PlayStation 5 remains unchanged. Okay, so how that works, I'm assuming, is that they're getting their parts made elsewhere, right? And if they can't get a hold of those parts because of the COVID-19 scare, then we could be seeing possible delays when it comes to that. But to be honest, at the end of the day, I think they're going to be okay. I think this is interesting to read and to try and make predictions of up front. But at the end of the day, we'll just have to wait and see. The biggest thing I care about is Sony making its initial launch, because even if there are delays, I think they'll recover. So anyway, thanks for tuning in, and I hope you guys like my new backdrop. I'm still getting used to, it's really hot in here.
Why am I wearing a sweater?
Until next time, guys, we'll leave a coin on the cabinet for you. Take care. The reasoning for that apparently comes down to, I can't read. The reasoning for that apparently comes down to more than, I still can't read. Let me try that one more time. The reasoning for that apparently comes down to more. The reasoning for that apparently comes down more to the effect. But the two things I want to focus on are how the price might, the two things I want to focus are on